Hey everyone, and welcome back. On this week's video, I'll be breaking down a few self-assessments that you can use to help you determine if motor skills coaching is the right choice for you. First off, let me just say that if you have any structural considerations, you've fractured a bone, you've torn muscle, or you have an abnormal growth in your body, don't come see me, go see somebody else. But for everyone else, we want to take a look at what your range of motion is at a variety of joints. So we're going to look at shoulders, we're going to look at hips, and we're going to look at the neck. So the first thing that we're going to look at is, can you rotate your neck freely on both sides? To the left, to the right. If you find yourself restricted in one direction, a better scenario for you would be as if you're restricted when rotating to the right. Okay, I'm not going to go back into all the details as to why. I just want you to be able to knock out a few quick checks and see where you're at. So the second drill that you're going to do will be to check internal rotation at the shoulder complex. So the shoulder complex consists of an interaction of 4 different sets of bones. It'll be the rib cage, the clavicle or the collarbone, the scapula or the shoulder blade, and the humerus or the upper arm. So there's a lot of moving parts to consider. We want to just make sure that you are able to access the most basic requirement for movement in that joint space. So what that is internal rotation. And what it'll look like will be something like this. Take the elbow, leave it in line with the shoulder, and what you're going to try to do is only rotate from the humerus. So from this angle, you can see I'm pretty much at 90 degrees. If I were to go at the side, I'm cheating a little bit, but I can get almost to the table if I were laying down on my back. So you're going to want to look for internal range of motion first. I don't care about external range of motion. I don't care about any other angles you're playing around with. This is the first thing that I look at. Can you access IR? And of course, left and right is going to be a little bit different. Your left side should be better than your right side, but I want both sides to be able to drop. I want both of them to be able to reach full IR. Most people coming in to see me for the first time, they'll have something around there. So it's almost non-existent. All right, so that's the shoulder. So that's neck and that's shoulder. The third thing that you want to consider, or the fourth and fifth test, depending on how you're counting, will be to check hip internal rotation. So I'm going to drop the camera so you guys can check that out. What we're going to look at now is how much internal rotation you're going to have at the hips. So you can do this while you're sitting down at the office just as a quick spot check. All right, I'm going to look for rotating, just like we did at the shoulder complex. We're going to try to rotate only from the femur, the thigh. So here, cheat a little bit, let the knee drag out, right? I got about 45 degrees. Cool. Left, I got a little bit less. So in this position, I'd want to be able to train or work towards improving my left hip internal rotation. Ha! I'm back. Okay, so those are the things that I ask people to take a look at is, can your neck move freely? For some people, not so much. Can you internally rotate on both sides? Well, like all the way down. I don't care if like, hey, it's pretty good, I can get down to here. No, I want it all the way. Why are these tests the most important? Because these are the preliminary drills that I will look at, or these are the preliminary motions that I want you to be able to have access to before we drill anything else. Like people say, like, hey, my hips are tight. What does that mean? It doesn't mean that you're looking at internal rotation. It actually means that you're looking at, I'm gonna stand up. It means that you're looking at external rotation. So most people, when I put them on the table, they can rotate out their hips a lot. So when they say I have tight hips, and they keep doing these like frog stretches or these hip openers or all of these things that are trying to push the knees out or externally rotate the hips. That's not the problem. Not even remotely close to being the problem. The issue is internal rotation. So everyone trying to open up their hips, open up their chest, get external rotation, squeeze the shoulder blades together. Yeah, I don't know what you're doing because you can't close. So if you're trying to open, and you're trying to open more and you already have plenty of open left in you, it's the closing that's the problem. You don't have a central foundation for articulating your joints against gravity. Like you can't manage this basic requirement. And that's the thing that gets a lot of people into a lot of trouble. If you are lacking in internal rotation at the shoulder complex, if you're lacking in internal rotation at the hips, this is the first thing that you need to fix. This is the first thing that you need to address. Opening your hips, opening your shoulders, opening your chest, stretching your neck complex. None of that's really going to help you. because you don't have internal rotation. Now, if you have all of the internal rotation in the world and you think you're lacking external rotation, maybe then it'll be a good idea to start working on opening up your chest and opening up your hips. But in the last 3 years, I have yet to meet anyone where this is the issue. Feeling that your hips are tight can still be caused by a lack of internal rotation because your femur, your thigh bone, is not sitting well inside of the acetabulum. So because it's not properly centrated, you are feeling restriction as you're trying to go into external rotation. Like if this is my right hip bone, this is my right knee. As I'm trying to go out more because I'm not centrated, then I'm catching on the outer lip of that hip complex. So I'm gonna feel that I can't go out as much as before. Well, that's true. It's because you're banging bone on bone. And then you try to open up your hip, you're trying to push past this restriction, and all you're doing is just wearing away at that structure. These are just a few of the things to take a look at. If you find that you are lacking in internal rotation, the things that you're gonna need to do, and this is gonna be a surprise to absolutely no one who's been watching my channel for more than a week, is you're gonna have to get more hamstrings, you're gonna have to get more adductors, you're gonna have to get them to adequately influence and reposition your pelvis. So if you're doing a 90-90, a standard 90-90 hip lift, that means getting your hamstrings to posteriorly tilt your pelvis. If you're shifting to one side, it means posteriorly rotating your pelvis and then getting your pelvis to rotate towards the side that you're working on. And if you see me, any of the drills from the first 30 weeks of my channel, you're gonna know what that means and what that looks like. If you're lacking in internal rotation up above, you're going to wanna look at protraction. You unequivocally suck at protracting. What is that? It's this, it's reaching forward. Because like I said in that video, when you try to protract, you're actually rotating, or watch this area of my shirt, extending your spine. So you're not protracting, you're doing something else that's not protraction. You need to be able to manage that skill first, because what that allows you to do is it allows you to compress one side adequately. The reason that you have a lack of internal rotation is because you never learned how to compress your body. You never learned how to load. All you've ever learned how to do is to fall forward. So if you breathe in, like in any of my videos really, and you extend your upper back, you expand with belly breathing, all you're really doing is jamming yourself forward. The more forward you are patterning yourself to be, the less likely it is that you're going to be able to shift. So if the pelvis is rotated forward on both ends, if the rib cage is jutting forward on both ends, that means that there's going to be certain ranges of motion, and I'm kind of giving you a hint here as to what those things are, that are going to be harder for you to do. Like right now, I'm stacked on my sits bones. Yay! Internal, great, awesome. If I extend and I stick my chest out, and I don't know what this is going to look like, it's going to be okay, good, perfect. That's all I got. Look at that. So the difference between extension and what your nervous system is going to allow you access to is huge. Your nervous system puts on the brakes in your muscle tone because it doesn't trust the strategies that you've come up with thus far to manage gravity and airflow. Again, it's a broken record. I'm like the Gary Vee of movement, right? So you have to be able to access these ranges of motion. You have to be able to access them by gaining the appropriate position of your ribcage, of your pelvis. And, because it's not just about repositioning bones and getting into this thing so you can actually slouch and I'm in a better position, right? No. You have to be able to own it, manage it, and deal with air pressure, breathing, while you're in these positions. And that's the hardest part. It's the reason why if you've ever tried any of my drills from my first 30 videos of my YouTube channel, you're dying after the first 4 reps. You cannot do 12 reps of any of those drills. It's impossible. If you're able to do 12 reps of any of my drills, you're doing them wrong. There's no other way to put it, right? Most of my people tap out at 4 or 5. You could do lunges for a little more than that, but that's about it. And there have to be body weight. Okay? So these are some of the things to consider when you're trying to figure out if motor skills coaching or my brand of coaching is a viable option for you. If you're lacking in internal range of motion at the shoulders, at the hips, if you find that you can't rotate your neck smoothly on both sides, then it's worth investigating a little bit further as to the real reason why you don't have access to these range of motion. It's not because you're tight, because that's horseshit. There's no other way to say it. It's because your nervous system put on the brakes and it said, I don't trust you to do stuff anymore. So instead of getting you to do all of this, we're gonna stop you right there. Because if we give you less stuff, you're gonna be limited in the stuff that you're gonna be able to do. But we humans are natural problem solvers, so what do? We go to the gym and we go into external rotation, we do these wall angels, we try to sit up straight, we try to breathe diaphragmatically, which is a whole other can of horse shit. But we're trying to do all of these things because our body is putting on the brakes and we're like, no, I don't want those breaks because I need to PR at CrossFit, because I need to go run and catch that train so I'm not late to my next board meeting. Whatever it is, we have tasks that we need to accomplish, and these breaks are getting in our way. When we don't understand why the breaks are there to begin with, then we're just gonna try any random problem-solving skill that we have at our disposal to try to get us out of these restrictions, right? So what does everyone do? They do the same thing, ER and extension. And that's not the thing to go after. It's the other stuff that nobody pays attention to. So this is why you can do all the glute bridges in the world. You can do all the Pilates, all the yoga, all the strength training in the world. But if you're not paying attention to a few subtle things, it's meaningless. Strength is not the first thing that you should go after when you're trying to improve your health. It's understanding position, and it's sensing the position in your body. Only when you sense things in your body can you start to make changes towards a better strategy. So in next week's video, I'll be talking about why your elbow issues are really rib cage issues. See you next Tuesday.